Welcome everyone to the Morgan Horse Source. We'll go ahead and get started with our introductory video.
Oh,
Oh my God, I sent in a picture with that shirt too.
Alrighty, thank you guys so much for coming. We'll go ahead and get right into our questions.
Thank you for having us.
yes.
All right. How did you both get into horses and or the Morgan breed?
I will start by telling you is because my daughter, when she was 9, wanted a horse. And we just took that and ran with it. And she had a quarter horse to start out with. I was not entranced. And a few years later, a friend had a Morgan horse and I fell in love. We went to FunQuest Farms. I went out in the pasture and the mares and the babies and the pasture was green and you couldn't move because all of the mamas wanted to show you their babies. Uh, Mine's the prettiest, and we loved their faces, we loved their friendliness, and we bought a Morgan, and then we bought another Morgan, and then we bought one in foal, and that's how we got into it. So it was all Kelly's fault.
Yeah, so eventually the quarter horses went away and we had all Morgans, and Peggy would volunteer for the Wheat State show and I would be volunteered to help her. And I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, this was back before computers and we did everything by hand, all the bookkeeping, all the entering. We wrote it. Each class had its own class sheet that was literally written on by hand.
Mhm.
And Peggy um, revolutionized the three-part NCR paper class
Yeah,
sheets.
that was big time technologically advanced.
Yes.
And
And Peggy taught me how to use a mouse
that's
on a
right.
computer
I had a computer first. I showed her how to work a mouse.
because I did not know because I
Yeah.
had
She
only
said,
used DOS computers.
she said, someday I just can't see myself ever really using a computer. I got a computer
Mhm.
because one of our shows, uh, Fern Bittner, who was a horse show manager, encouraged me to use this one man's horse show program, which we used for several years. It was a DOS program. And so I got a computer and off
We
we
used
went.
we used it for one show, then we used it for Grand National for the first time.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine. I mean, there were probably lots, maybe several errors, but you know, we got through it and we got it all done. And I still miss that program.
Yeah.
That was a fast program. You could do some good data entry in that program. We could get those things entered quickly. But, and let's see what so I helped Peggy for another, she got hired for shows after she met Fern. Fern would hire her to do shows and she didn't know that she would could get paid to do it. And I thought it was so much fun. I would take my vacation from work to go with her to help her. And I used to work in a doctor's office lab. And so I would, whenever I'd take my vacation, it was around a horse show. And so I was always there. I would organize the ribbons for Wheat State, and I would actually do the bookkeeping. We had a show here in town, Kansas National, and Peggy said they're going to want to keep an accounting of everything financially. And I'm like, oh, really? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we learned how to do like double entry not ledger. Yeah, ledger. Sorry. I was thinking of ledgered.
So it's changed a lot in the last 40 some years.
For sure.
Yeah. So many years we did everything by hand, and we're on our third software program now. And it was new to me last year, and it went well. We like it.
Mhm.
And what is it like being able to work together?
It's
That was
really good.
great.
Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of unusual that we don't ever fight. Where our
Right.
duties at the Grand National, our duties are um, kind of separated somewhat. Kelly does a lot of things other than entries. She does all the judges' contracts. She does the stabling of the judges, the hotels for the judges. So many things, and I basically do the entries, and I've got, you can't see the list, but this is kind of a list of the duties that I do as secretary. I got it broken down before the show and during the show and after the show, and there's a lot to do. Believe it or not, I still am working on last year's show. There's always things to do.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive. Can you tell us about your first experience working as the Morgan Horse Show secretaries, and then what it's like to be able to be involved in such a prestigious show?
Well, for me,
Peggy.
for me, at our first Morgan show that I did for 40 some years at the Wheat State Show, which became a regional show, but my desk was a card table in front of the bleachers by the ring. and, and it was a lot of fun. Um, and the first time I did Grand National, I had gone to the first Grand National. We had shown a horse there and had been to every one. And the first year I did it, I was pretty nervous. Um, but everybody is nice. Morgan exhibitors are really great. In all the years we've done it, we've had one person be rude to us who will be nameless, but that's all. That's all that
There's maybe been two.
Oh yeah, two as of yeah. But it's amazing. They're great to work with. We and because I love the breed, it was very special for me to do the show and to be asked to do the show. Um it meant a lot. The show still means a lot to me, not just as being secretary, but being part of the Grand National and the Morgan world. And it does to Kelly too, I think. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I did all of Peggy's shows and, with her if I could. And when she first got asked to do the Grand National, um, Fern told her that, oh, well, you should still be able to go out and watch the show with your friends because you'll have a staff. And I wasn't even on their radar at all, but because I had a full-time job and nobody knew me from anybody. But Fern knew me. And well, Fern didn't really know me all that well, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, she did from Kansas National. But anyway, I told my mom and I said, well, you know what? In August, I'm going to quit my job and I might be able to give you some help on that, a little bit of help on the show. And now look at me now.
Yeah.
And then so then I started working with Fern independently of Peggy because she needed secretaries. And my first year to do a show was not a USEF show. It was a weekend local show, and it was very hectic though. And my mom was in Athens, Texas at the same time. So she was at a show when I was doing the Stars and Stripes show, and it was crazy. And I kept calling her saying, I miss you. And then a couple of years later, then I started doing USEF shows. I did the Oklahoma Centennial. That was my very first USEF show to do by myself. And then Circle J the same year. Funny story about Circle J. I was getting ready to leave and I was borrowing my mom's laptop. So I went over there. I made a backup of all of my data and I was going to take it over to her house and put it on the laptop the night before I was leaving for the show. So I go to restore the discs into her laptop and the discs can't be read. Read. So so I panicked and I just panicked and I couldn't get him in. Turns out when you spill a soft drink on a floppy disk, it gets kind of sticky and it kind of ruins your data. So I had to enter everybody into the show. Back then, Circle J was a huge show,
Yeah.
and I had to enter everybody the night before I went to the show
Mhm.
all over again because of my backup failing. Good times.
So after working at so many Morgan shows over the years, do you each have a favorite show to work and what makes it stand out for you?
Well, mine is the Grand National. Basically, it's the only show I do now, but I've I've really liked just about every show I've done. I really prefer the All Morgan shows. I'm familiar with the rules and the way the results have to be done. Um, so I'd have to say it's the Grand National. What about
Well,
you?
I mean, I would say mine would be the Grand National too, but I like all of my shows as well, and I mean, I like them all for different reasons. I mean, I have a lot of my shows here in the middle of the country or like in St. Louis and Oklahoma and Des Moines and Texas. And a lot of those same people go. So I see them every year and I see them several times at different horse shows. And I mean, of course, the Morgan show, the Grand National is just
Right.
it's just the creme de la creme.
I used to do a show in Athens, Texas, the Heritage Show, and it was fun. They had driving classes outdoors and trail classes outdoors, and I did that for several years. And the Greens were instrumental in putting that on as the Texas Club, and that was always fun to go to and be a part of. I loved that show.
What would you say some of the most rewarding and also some of the most challenging aspects of the horse show running is?
Oh, most challenging is getting all the USEF information, WDAA information, AMHA information, getting that organized. And a lot of people don't understand how important that is. And we spend a lot of our time being membership chairman for for those groups and making sure they have their safe sport, being a policeman, basically. And to me, that's challenging. I want to say hello to people and enter them in their classes and do the results, but there's an awful lot of legalese work to do that we have to do.
I would agree with that.
And the most rewarding probably is the people that we meet and we get to see every year. And it's like a family
Family.
reunion. Mhm.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
And stabling is a challenge, which
Tabling is a challenge.
we don't really do that. I mean, I've done it at other shows. Um, you can't ever make anybody happy or everybody happy. And
Right.
we don't really do that at the Grand National, but Kelly helps put it in the computer and gives them information about what discipline people are in, and that kind of determines a lot of times where people want to be stabled and passes that information along. But you agree?
Yes. Stabling and yeah, and just making sure that everybody has their USCF, because the show will then get, they don't necessarily get fined if somebody's not a member, but if somebody's not a member and they come after you for a show pass fee, and so the show has to pay that, and then you have to pass along that charge to the exhibitor, which doesn't always get taken care of. So
And last year,
And-
for the first time, we had online entries, which that was really nice. That was the first year for that. And as long as people looked at who the owner, the registered owner with with AMHA was, that's good. But we kind of had to check that because they might put down the McFaul family, and actually Kelly McFaul might own the horse. And AMHA would like that to be in the name of the registered owner. And so we have to check all that. So there's a lot of policing and checking to do.
and the after show duties, if somebody's been disqualified, you're required to save your USCF records, which means all the entry blanks and the judges' cards and the class sheets for 3 years. So they don't usually wait that long to ask for an entry blank, but usually, when would you say, like December, they start asking for entry blanks from the
Yeah.
Grand National?
Yeah. I just finished redistributing one
Right,
class.
we have to redistribute all the ribbons. Peggy has to,
And
and
yeah,
prize money if there is such a thing, and that is very challenging.
right.
And that's, if they found them to have some forbidden substance in their drug test.
For those who may want to follow in your footsteps and become involved in show secretary work, do you have any advice for them?
To do it, it's fun, and we need young people.
That's right.
And we'd be glad to work with anybody in the office and have them help us if they're interested in doing it. It's hard for young people who have jobs to maybe do that, because you're going to have to take off work for, how many days if it's out of town. But it's fun, and we need people.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, though. Not everybody has the temperament to deal with cranky people.
Right.
And
Right. And I always say
not
that,
everybody's cranky, but
yeah,
people
come in and they're tired, and you've got to understand. And I always tell people, or think at least, that everybody that has been a show secretary, that is a show secretary, should have been an exhibitor at some point. So you can see that.
Right. But vice
Every-
versa.
and vice versa. It would be nice if all exhibitors could do the work in the horse show office and see how important, like, signatures are, correct
Mhm.
numbers, illegible entries, and all that. So it would be nice if everybody did a little of everything, but I know that that's not practical. But I think that if you have the temperament and any interest at all, it's great.
Yeah,
We love it.
we do.
What has kept you motivated and passionate about this job for so many years?
After every year, I've got a little folder that says next year's show, and I write notes on what we could do better, what procedure would help us. And I've got a list every year, and I just think next year it'll be so much better because we'll do this or we'll do that. And everybody in the office writes their suggestions, and
Hmm.
that's what keeps me motivated.
Yes,
Plus, I
it's
love seeing the
it's still
people.
evolving after all these years.
Yeah, it does.
We are not resistant to change.
Nope. And I'm old, so
And I'm old too. She's a lot older, but I'm,
so it's always fun. I love seeing the horses.
oh yeah.
and a horse or two of ours usually shows that has our prefix that we bred, and that's always fun to see them, but it's just fun to see all the people and the display of the tack rooms, and it's just a beautiful show.
Yep.
Over the years, you've seen numerous riders, trainers, and horses come and go. How do you keep the show operations running smoothly amidst so much change?
Hmm.
Computers?
Well, the challenge is keeping up with the regulations that we are given every
Mhm.
year, changing, and just keeping abreast of those is a challenge. As far as the riders go,
Yeah.
that's always fun. We feel like we know a lot of people, even though we don't really know them, but we've been entering them in the medal class. We've been entering them since they were in walk trot. And
Yeah. But
so
yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, they're an amateur master
yeah,
now.
they're an
I
amateur. They
remember
can't
them
be
when
an
they were in
amateur.
walk trot.
So,
Maybe not that long ago, but
oh, some,
yeah,
some,
probably.
yeah.
Probably.
So,
What do you think the future holds for Morgan horse shows, and how do you envision the industry evolving in the next 10 to 20 years?
I don't really know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know either. I worry for the future of horse shows. Um, just because I feel like it's become very elite and not everyone can afford it. And I believe that this is going to sound horrible, but I think that we've sort of priced ourselves out of bringing in new people because I mean, if you can bring in new people, like, I mean, some trainers are great at bringing in new people and they're enthusiastic. They buy a lot of horses and they want to stay. But that's the exception rather than the rule. It's not like every year you get new barns with, you know, and it's also become something that an amateur can't really do by themselves, at least compete at the level of the Grand National. I mean, they can, but
It's changed so
it's
much.
changed a lot because it used to be a
You
lot of
brought your
amateurs
horse. You
bring in
brought
their
your
own
horse,
horses.
and you maybe showed it in a lot of class, especially
Yeah,
at the smaller shows like the Wheat State shows. If you brought your horse, you showed it in a bunch of classes,
yeah,
and you didn't have to pay too much. And the reason that the fees have gone up so much is because the rental has gone up of all these places, and there aren't that many places like where we used to have Wheat State is no more. They've turned it into something else. And
yeah. That's another thing. The
yeah,
world is evolving to be less horse friendly, and agriculture, it's not that big a deal. The American Royal, I work at that show and I have for a long time. It used to be a show where the public would actually come and watch. I mean, they'd come dressed in their mink coats and sit in the stands, and it was a society event. And now we're lucky to even get the trainers to come to the stands to watch. I mean, they, of course they coach their riders, but yeah, so it's just changed.
yeah. So I wish I could be more optimistic, but
Yeah,
it
same here.
it's just
Been
hard
kind of,
to get new people. When we started, everybody had their own horses. I mean, not everybody, but most people had their own horses. There were maybe two trainers, and everybody showed their horse in hand because they thought it was the prettiest. And we had huge in hand classes and just really big classes. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Those are some really good points. What are some of the lesser known tasks or responsibilities of a show secretary that people might not realize?
Well, right now I am shredding. I am shredding parts of entry blanks from 3 years ago that I can finally get rid of and make maybe a little space in my storage room. So there's, I think, probably 3/4 of our task are things that people don't know about. Um, like Kelly makes arrangements for the judges, and I used to do that at my shows. And doing the prize list, let's start with that.
Yeah,
That's we don't determine the schedule at the Grand National, but Kelly actually
I
does
format the prize
format
list
it.
and change everything and do, put all the new ads in and,
Right, just to get the hotel ads and put in. And there's meetings to determine the schedule
mhm,
and to pick the judges. And that starts in November, right after the show
mhm,
in October. And, there's just mundane things like making bank deposits at the bank and
yeah,
keeping with your entries every day before to make a deadline with the printer. And then another thing that has to be done as soon as the printer gets the classes, he sends that information right back to us, and we have to proofread that during the time we're getting phone calls about, I need to enter this class. It's just,
mhm.
I think that probably 60% of what we do, or 75 maybe even, are things that people don't realize. Preparing a stall list to give to the stabling committee.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just the Grand National, and that's a lot of work. But yeah, there's still getting the stall list ready, getting the shavings, making sure you have all the stalls, making sure people order. I mean, if I notice somebody doesn't have tax stalls, then that's a phone call or an email or a text. Say, hey, you didn't tell me you wanted any tax stalls. I'm sure you do. And so, just things like that. It's
Well, assembling the exhibitor packets at the show is a real process too.
well, for Grand National it is.
Well,
It's
it
yeah,
is, but you have
yeah.
to, put the classes on the back of the number, and then put the number in a bag and any other stuff, and then sort it. And it's a really huge job. The show committee helps us do that part, and
Hmm.
it's a really good thing. So there's just so many things nobody sees.
I was told that you have a programs binder of all the past show programs.
Oh,
Um, well, I keep the programs. I've got a little chart with covers on each, and who was the judge and who was. It's pretty cute.
yeah,
And
yeah.
where the show was, just little vignettes
Mhm.
of that.
That was me. I told him to ask you about your binder because you
Oh,
showed us in Oklahoma. I
oh,
thought it
thank
was very
you.
cool.
It was
Thank you.
probably the cover of the like with all the different covers on that one
Mhm.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, well, this is my, what I keep my minutes in, and this isn't all of them. This is just the ones that when I started.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
And she
it's
does
fun.
have every single program
Yeah,
from every single show.
yeah. I even have my exhibitor pass from the very first show. It's a red cardboard thing about this size with my exhibitor number on it. Nobody keeps anything like that. I don't even know why I have it. I'm embarrassed that I have it. But here's what that looks like. And I have the show committee on one column and the judges on the other, and the show manager and anything that's. But that's just something I did because I like the history of the show and of the breed.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's not an official duty.
We had some questions about your breeding program. What was it like being able to continue the fun quest, bred Morgans, and breed them for all those years?
It was wonderful. We did it. My husband, we got the horse for Kelly, and my husband rode. Guess what? I never rode. Maybe one time. I led, fed, and bred. So we would we would go to Mr. Hazard's, and we kind of knew after a while what mare lines we really liked. And sometimes we'd have to talk and talk and talk to get a certain mare, but we knew which ones produced and which ones we really liked the lines of, and he was happy to help us. I loved going there. He's a very interesting man, brilliant. And the horses were out in a big green pasture. The stallions there was a stallion barn, but when he quit breeding, when he stopped his program, we bought several mares then. And it was always so much fun to wait for the babies every spring. And I miss that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we never had any help. We just did it ourselves.
What was it like being inducted into the Breeders' Hall of Fame?
Well, that was a real shocker. I didn't even know anything about it until it happened. I was really pleased. I've got my trophy right over here. And it was a huge honor, and it's going to go on my obituary. I need to tell you that, Kelly.
Okay.
Yes, I was very proud of that. Very proud.
Yeah,
Being
me
a
too.
Morgan horse for so long, what do you look for in a Morgan horse, and do you have any favorite attribute about them?
Well, I love uh, their personalities. That's the one thing we noticed. We still had the quarter horses and a couple of quarter horses, and we got our first Morgan, and she was looking and she wanted to be with us, and love their personality. I love their heads. I love their faces. I like a pretty typey Morgan, and I love them with the long manes and tails if we can, and I like something that looks like a Morgan horse and has a good temperament.
When they first introduced the tagline, "The horse that chooses you," I was thinking that is exactly true, because when we went to Funquist Farms that first time, they came right up and chose us.
That's right.
When we went out to their pasture, they came right up and said, "Yes, we'll
Yeah.
take you.
We'll
Thank you."
take you.
Yeah. So I've always
How
loved that
how big is your
slogan.
trailer? Yeah, we made the
Yeah.
mistake of taking a friend's 2-horse trailer. We were going to buy 1 horse, and we borrowed her 2-horse trailer, and you just had to get a couple of them.
Would have been lopsided.
That's right. But it
Um,
was quite a scene to see that first group of Morgan horses.
What are some of the most memorable moments you've experienced as a show secretary or just in the Morgan community as a whole?
Hmm.
Huh. Most memorable moment as a show secretary.
Oh, was it when the electricity went out? In
Well, that
Nashville?
was a memorable.
Yeah, that was a memorable.
We were on the last day at Oklahoma, and probably 30 minutes before the session starts, the lights just go off. It wasn't storming, it was just dark. And they had generators, but it was only emergency backup. So not everything worked. Like our computers worked. We couldn't print anything because the printer didn't work. Well, then eventually the computers all went dead, and it was off for about an hour. They had the first class in the warm-up ring, I think.
Had it in the warm-up ring.
Yeah, the 3-year-old park harness championship or something. And um and then it came back on about an hour and a half later, and we're like, dang, we were doing good packing. And so
Yeah,
anyway.
I have a lot of memorable moments that probably I shouldn't share. Uh, one of the times I was called the Kansas National Charity Horse Show, and it 500 horses, and the wind was blowing 60 miles an hour. We had tents, we had so many horses, and this was a show I did by hand. And we had horses in tents, but we had to move those horses in the barn. And we had to call local people and say, don't come yet. You can't have your stalls. We've moved this. And about that time, they're calling me from the paddock and saying, there's a fire out here. And then somebody else comes in and says, here's a cup, but it's got a finger in its ice. Keep it. And somebody'd got their finger off. And then Saddlebred trainer came in and opened the door and said, enter my big chestnut horse in the stake. And I didn't know who the trainer was or who the big chestnut horse was or what stake. And I've got a cup with a finger in it. And trying to get the fire department out for the little fire. That was a memorable show.
Mhm. I guess mine would have to be the Circle J thing with the most traumatic thing anyway.
Yeah.
All
Um,
right, I think that wraps up our questions. Does anybody else have any questions in the audience?
There's no audience.
There's no audience.
I have a question.
Yes.
All of the horses and all of the people you guys have seen through the Grand National, who has been your favorite? I would say horse is like the one that stands out. Can be your own.
I love
Grey
Ben
Cliff
Fields
Tony.
Ace.
Okay.
And who?
Grey Cliff Tony.
Grey Cliff Tony, and I loved Ben Fields Ace going way back.
Yep.
And Beamington, I would say probably those three.
I like those
Yeah.
answers.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Grey Cliff Tony, and then he's got a son, Cherrydale.
Acapella.
Casanova. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's pretty cool. I just think they're very typey and very square and balanced, and I just always have loved them.
I like it.
But there's many, many, many more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are.
That's just one that comes to mind. So
I remember the Ben Fields Ace for a long time. I remember how beautiful I thought he was.
Spring Mill Superstition, another
Mhm.
one.
That's a good
Perfect.
one. That was a good one.
Mary Hill After Hours.
Yeah, we could go on and
Oh,
on.
and we saw so many at the convention, up close and personal, the 10 world champions that came, and that
Oh,
was
yeah.
pretty special. That to see them like up close. I mean, they ran around the ring and like they were right there.
That was cool. That was
That
cool.
was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had really bad FOMO seeing that.
It was fun. I'm so glad I went.
I think it was better than seeing them show because they had so many trainers all over the ring, getting them to
Yeah.
be the best they could at every single step. It was very neat.
Yes,
It
I
was
thought
very
so
neat.
too.
I love the classes I love watching. I love the Western classes, but I think a Morgan carriage horse is absolutely beautiful. And then I peek out the window when the lead liners are coming in.
Mhm.
They're getting ready to come in. I can see them pretty close to that window there. I think it's wonderful.
I love that.
Yep.
You guys are probably the most fun episode we've ever had, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
I had to be careful. I was laughing so hard I couldn't wake my kid up. I have to be careful.
Well,
Okay.
sorry nobody wanted to come.
No, they
Listen.
will. They'll watch it online. Well, also carousel's happening right now, and I find every time there's a big show happening, it drops off.
Oh, did it already start? Did it start today?
Later on.
Today, I think. Well, I know right now I'm
Okay.
getting the youth contest results in as we speak, so it's happening as we speak.
Good.
So
Well, you guys are fun and we appreciate it. And Kiana, you were very professional in sending it, and letting us know when you got it.
Yeah.
And
And I'm sorry for my
well, I can't apologize for that. That's on you.
I'm getting ready to go tomorrow morning. I'm going to the Buckeye sale with Erica to help in any way I can. And then when I get home from that, then I have 4 horse shows in a row.
Yeah.
And back in Ohio, ironically. I will have gone to Ohio
That's
3
my
times
favorite
in a
part.
row. Not the same place in Ohio.
Well, Equine Affairs in a week in Ohio, but I'm sending Carol because I didn't want to go back to Ohio. I was like, no.
Yeah. Well, I'm going back to Ohio for the sale and Ohio for a horse show.
You come up this way. You come to Massachusetts now for Mass Morgan.
Yeah.
That's in my neck of the woods up here. So
Well, you never have come to
I this is I'm
to see
you know,
it.
I don't tell anyone I own a saddlebred. But I'm back at a Morgan bred again.
Well,
So
let's see. We'll get on the phone and report.
Well, everybody's gonna know now. It's
I know, right?
recording.
But
This
I'm
is
back
not a
showing
secure
Morgans
line.
again. But I don't know if we're gonna make it to Mass. It's also so close to Oklahoma for me. It's like it's hard to work and then go to the show a month before Oklahoma.
Yeah, I bring entries home from that show.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a memory. The first year I did Mass Morgan, the entry deadline is Tuesday, the show starts, but then they have to be received by Tuesday, the day after the show, or 2 days after the show. So people said, "Oh, can I send my entries home with you?" And I said, "Sure." So I put them all in I don't know, one of the Grand National leather bags and put them in my suitcase. Well, then when I got to the suitcase, or the airport, I was 5 pounds overweight. So I took out the entries and decided I better just carry them around.
Uh-oh.
And it was 8 pounds because when I put my suitcase back on, it was 47 pounds. So I was carrying around 8 pounds of entries for Mass Morgan.
Oh my God.
Now many people do them online, so I didn't bring as many home this last year as I normally do, but yeah, people send their entries home with me.
I can't believe they do that. Do you like that? That's one of our favorite shows around here. Do you like that show? It's like
Mass
the most,
Morgan, yeah, it's
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's one
It's
of the most
long.
fun.
It's long and it's hard work, but
Yeah.
It's very fun and everybody seems to love it.
It's like a
They
party
have a
show.
theme every year
Mhm.
and they decorate their stalls and their box seats, and they usually have a little fun class. Like one year they had the greatest showman, and so they all went in.
Costume, yeah.
My favorite one was the Neidlinger one where the kids ran in and did like juggling and they had hula hoops, and two of them were riding bareback on the horse in little, little tutus, but then also David Rands, they came in all dressed up as like circus ringmasters,
Oh, cool.
and they're the ones that won, and it was really good too. But yeah, they just do fun things like
Yeah.
that.
It was always my favorite one around here,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep, it's a good one.
Okay, I have questions for now.
Okay. I will tell you one more experience. You asked how I felt during the first show. I was so nervous because it was so important to do everything right. And I was following Kelly's car. We were going to Oklahoma City. We were just pulling in and we see horse vans. And I see a great big red, I don't know, 16 horse van. And Kelly is looking at it. She's asking if I'm seeing it. She's so excited. And I'm having a heart attack because I didn't see an entry for these people. I am sure that I have lost the entry. Oh my God, it's under the chair. Oh, my dog ate it. What happened? Well, anyway, it was what it said on the trailer was Creech Brothers. And they are a transport company. So I came to the show in a frenzy, only to find out that they were just transporting the horses.
Yeah.
Very
And
lost.
Fern used to because we used to go on the day the horses got there.
We were,
The horses could move in on Thursday because the show started on Sunday. And I
Yeah.
think we started going when we first we went on Thursday and the horses were unloading. But then that changed.
Yeah. They used to line up. They couldn't come in on Sunday and they'd line up starting from early in the morning
Yeah, Fern would take us out on the golf cart and we'd go down
She'd
the row
wave.
of trailers and wave to everybody. And
Anyway, that's all the fun that I can remember.
well,
It's been fun
you've had lots more fun, and so have I.
and I love it. And we have a great staff. I do want to say that. We
Oh,
have
yeah.
Nani and Linda Burke and Nancy Harvey helps us,
Yeah.
who's in the Arabian world. And everybody has a different job. And Linda does the clipboards for the judges, and we're a pretty well-oiled machine.
Yep.
Okay,
And we all like each other.
I know.
A big deal, yeah.
We love each other, yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Okay,
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. It was really great.
thank you. It's good, nice to meet you, and nice to see you, Nikki.
Nice to see you.
Okay,
Thank you guys so much for doing
right.
this.
okay.
Okay.
And
Happy to do it.
Yep.
Thank you. Have fun in Ohio.
Thanks. Which time?
It needs to be warmer this time.
Yeah, it is supposed to be warmer out. Well, it's supposed to be warmer. It's usually really warm this week up there in Ashland, but
Okay.
then it's cold or it snows or it rains or it
Yeah.
freezes when we're there for the sale. It's supposed to be in the 60s. And
Ooh,
one day is 70.
that's
Although it's probably
beautiful.
gonna still be cold in the barn, but still.
That's
And one
beautiful.
day is rain. But
It's not snow.
yeah, we're pretty excited about that.
It's 42 right now at home, and it has been all week in the
It's
sunshine.
been 75 here, so
Well, I'm jealous.
okay. All right. Well, y'all have a good night.
thank
Thank
you.
you. You too.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for doing it. We appreciate it.
Sure. Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Good night.